Onion.
Okay, call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
East Ward Alderman Rob Lester.
Here.
East Ward Alderman Mark Bowers.
Here.
Mayor Natalie Nish.
Here.
West Ward Alderman Vicky Montgomery. Here. West Ward Alderman Stacy Lee.
Here. All please stand for a moment of silent prayer or reflection, followed by
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
thank you. Your packet included minutes from August 27th and September 3rd. Is there any discussion on those minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
I have a motion from Vicky Montgomery,
Second.
second from Stacy Lee. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is expenditures. And you have the expenditures that were in the packet, and then you also have a additional claims approval report that was provided today by email, and it's a supplement to your packet. Does anyone have any specific questions on these items? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. And now we'll move into new business. We have a request for approval for fireworks after the homecoming football game.
Yes, and so I'll get, if I can find her here. There she is. Paige Colonna is here with us, and so she'll be speaking to you guys tonight on behalf of Student Council. So Paige, can you hear me okay?
Yes. Hi, I'm Paige Colonna. I'm the student body secretary at Marshfield High School. And as you can probably guess, most of our homecoming traditions have been canceled due to COVID. So Student Cabinet has been working really hard trying to come up with new ideas that would be safe and still fun for us to celebrate. Something we've thought of is having fireworks after the big homecoming game. So due to Misha's rules, we would have to wait about 30 minutes after the game. And the game is September 25th, Friday, September 25th. So we would be doing the fireworks around 10 to 10:30, and Dr. Theobald has gave us permission to shoot them off of his property.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion is approved. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for your time.
Thank you, Paige.
Thank you.
All right. And we will now move into our COVID-19 update. Do we have Michael Taylor?
I do not see Michael Taylor.
Yes.
There are several on, but I do not see.
While we're getting Michael, I'll turn your attention to the graph that was provided to you as well. This is the additional information I have been providing. I have limited the numbers above to one set of data per week since I started tracking this. You'll see that our current total cases since March for Webster County is 287. The active cases today is 50, and the Marshfield greater area, which includes 4 of the 9 zones within Webster County, is at 19 right now.
If we could give him just a second, they had an emergency this afternoon that he's been working on, so he's just in the middle of getting cleaned up. So if we can give him just a few minutes.
The other thing with the COVID update that I wanted to provide was a statement from the Webster County Health Unit. They provided a 4-page document, and I emailed that to each of you earlier today. I've spoken with a member of that board and received permission to paraphrase a portion of it. But the areas that were most important and the areas that provide perhaps some education, I feel important to go ahead and read. So in order to give Michael some time, I'll go ahead and present that, if that's all right? Okay. So this letter is dated September 7th, 2020, and it is from the Webster County Health Unit Board of Directors. And it is as follows. As the Webster County Health Unit Board of Directors, elected to provide oversight to the health unit and to lead the county in matters that pertain to health. As we have moved into this unprecedented time regarding COVID-19, the health unit, under the direction of the Board of Directors, has done its best to provide information, education, and direction to the residents and elected leadership of county and city municipalities within Webster County. This has not been done without careful consideration and deliberate actions. When COVID-19 initially appeared within our county, in our community, the health unit formed a task force that functioned under the leadership of the health unit administrator. Several steps have been taken, including the development of this advisory committee, to provide information to the health unit regarding what they were seeing or experiencing in their respective areas. The statement then goes on to give a breakdown and discussion of the events leading up to tonight's meeting, and then picks up again where they speak about their meeting on September 5th. So I'll start again there. At 3:06 p.m., Saturday, September 5th, we were advised by the administrator of the health unit that there were 9 active COVID-19 cases in the city of Marshfield. There were 62 active cases of COVID-19 in Webster County. This number includes the 9 cases in Marshfield. Based on the most current population data, in 2019, the Webster County population was 39,592. In 2018, the Marshfield city population was 7,463. This means that statistically speaking, 0.00156% of Webster County actively have COVID-19 on this date, and 0.0012% of the city's population actively had COVID-19. This is far less than even 1%. Even the highest point of 26 active cases, which was a percentage of 0.0034%, was significantly less than the 1% of our city population. In June, the World Health Organization released updated evidence regarding the use of masks for prevention of transmission of COVID-19. This document was proposed to provide guidance for public health professionals as care providers. The authors note that masks are only one piece of the package of healthcare behaviors that should be considered in preventing and controlling spread, and that, quote, whether or not masks are used, hand hygiene, physical distancing, and other infection prevention measures are critical to prevent human-to-human transmission of COVID-19. We support this statement and encourage individuals to adopt and practice these and other health behaviors and not necessarily feel fully protected by the use of masks. Furthermore, in regard to health behaviors, recent research indicates that almost 90% of individuals who are infected with COVID-19 require hospitalization have at least one chronic health condition, the most common being hypertension and obesity. As such, we encourage individuals to engage in additional health behaviors, including diet and exercise, to lower their risk of transmission and complications. In regard to required masking in the general public, the World Health Organization is stated that, quote, widespread use of masks by healthy people in the community setting are not yet supported by high quality or direct scientific evidence, end quote. Given this, it is recommended that decision makers apply a risk-based approach to mandatory masking and take into consideration specific situations and settings that may pose increased risk. This includes taking into consideration the epidemiological data within the area, as well as to engage in social distancing practices. It is our opinion that the current data of 0.0012% of the population of the city of Marshfield having COVID-19 does not rise to the level of being a high-risk situation for community spread. Furthermore, our city of 7,463 people does not lack in opportunity to social distance, with the exception of schools. Perhaps most noted, we do not even offer venues known to house increased risk of spread, such as crowded public transportation, bars, and dance clubs. In the previous Board of Aldermen meeting, a comparison was proposed between Marshfield and the city of Springfield. While Springfield experienced a dramatic rise in COVID-19 cases, the differences in our venues must be noted, as well as the fact that Springfield had an influx of nearly 30,000 young adults last month who are attending college in the city. This is not the case for Marshfield, and together these facts make this an inappropriate comparison. Strictly speaking, our community and the city of Marshfield in relatively low levels of COVID-19 since the outbreak. In the last 6 months, the city has had less than 100 people reported positive for the virus. This has been achieved through engagement in recommended health behaviors, the executive order, and individual choice and responsibility. While our county positivity rate is 5%, well below the state average of 2%, it is noted that this marker can be highly misleading in our area. We do not require, nor has widespread testing been encouraged. Therefore, the vast majority of individuals who are tested because they have symptoms or have been in contact with a known infected individual. This is a select sampling procedure, not a random sampling procedure, which results in an inability to draw population-based conclusions. It is also worth noting that it is a minority of our positive cases that are associated with community spread. After carefully taking all available evidence into consideration, on Saturday evening, September 5th, the Health Unit Board of Directors voted against recommending any ordinances in the county, including Marshfield, that would mandate wearing masks. The Health Unit Board of Directors unanimously passed the motion, creating the following position statement regarding the mandatory wearing of masks. Quote, at this time, based on current data and community input, rather than mandate mask wearing, the Webster County Health Unit Board of Directors will continue to encourage the wearing of masks. This includes individuals, businesses, school districts, churches, etc., being encouraged to wear masks based on what they feel they need to do in order to protect themselves and their patrons based on their unique situations. The Webster County Health Unit, in conjunction with the Board of Directors, will continue to monitor the situation and make appropriate recommendations as the situation changes. The statement continues with individuals who do not fall within the category of healthy and who have secondary conditions, chronic health conditions, or are immunocompromised are encouraged to not only mask, but also to avoid groups of people, engage in social distancing, and use frequent hand washing. We also recognize that many people are anxious due to the overwhelming and often conflicting information presented, as well as being affected by social isolation. We encourage those individuals to seek support if needed. In summary, our position is not that masks are not useful, but rather that given the current status of noted variables, a mandate is not a response. We trust our schools, businesses, and citizens to make good health-related decisions for themselves. The Webster County masking recommendations can be found on the the Health Unit website. The Health Unit encourages the residents of Webster County to make personal decisions regarding COVID-19. We will be continuing our work in monitoring the numbers and overall context of the pandemic situation within the county, providing education to the public, and devoting energy to effective contact tracing. We expect to see numbers increase with our return to school and other fall activities, and have taken steps to ensure our ability to respond effectively. If changes to the recommendation are needed in the future, we will communicate this not only to the City of Marshfield, but to all appropriate municipalities as well as county officials. Any such change will be made under unquestionable necessity and will include full consideration of emotional, spiritual, and economic impact to our citizens. And that is the end of their statement. There is a full copy also loaded to their website, if any of the members of the public would like to review. Do we have Michael?
We do.
Okay, let's backtrack to our City of Marshfield update.
All right, good evening. Sorry, I'm running a little behind tonight. The report I sent out today, hopefully everybody has. So according to CDC, today, 6,343,562 cases have been in the U.S. There's been a total of 190,262 deaths thus far. Missouri is reporting 97,591 cases. In Missouri, representing a 12.7% increase over the last 7 days. 1,697 deaths out of 1,083,924 persons tested. In Missouri, still, of course, 114 of 114 counties are reporting cases. World Health is reporting 27,738,179 cases worldwide, with 899,916 deaths in 216 countries. Currently in Webster County, we've had 287 cases. I realize the state is reporting higher than that, but those have not been confirmed yet. Those 287 in Webster County out of 5,106 persons tested. Currently, 50 patients are actively ill in the county, 12 of which are in the central region of Webster County. 2 are hospitalized and 237 have recovered. Along with this, we have 29 pending results, and this is a very high number. It's highest we've seen so far, approximately 340, actually higher than that, but at least 340 are monitored. And again, the highest we've seen on quarantine at 133 plus. And we've had a second death since I last spoke with you. The county by county breakdown is there for your review. Ages is also there, the data in regards to cases by age, deaths by age, and cases by biological sex. Assumptions and known information, according to the White House report, Missouri is now in a red zone, indicating more than 100 new cases per 100,000 of population in the last week. Scoring 7th highest in the country currently. The next new thing on here is the next drive-through test site has been scheduled for September 30th from 9 to 11, or really 9 till we're done, but we're scheduling for 9 to 11 at the Webster County Webster County Fairgrounds. In the changes in statistics, cases have increased by 46 since I last reported last week. Persons tested has increased by 348. Active cases have increased by 1. Decreased by 1. I did go ahead and throw that 2 other statistics in there. The persons monitored, that they're monitoring for symptoms in the county, has increased by 240. and persons quarantined in the county have increased by 73. So under my recommendations, cases in Webster County are still on the rise. Two adjoining counties, Greene and Christian, are in the top 12 in the state for new cases. For these reasons, my recommendation, the board consider leaving all current restrictions and recommendations in place. My report for this evening, unless you have any questions for me.
Any questions from the board for Michael?
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Michael.
All right, thank you.
All right. Our next item is discussion on clarification of bill language. There are two items that came up over the weekend with our draft ordinance that I want to bring to the table, and we can see whether there's something we want to address or not. Do we have Paul?
We do.
So this first issue was brought to our attention from our city council, Pauline, and that is the area of this, the section of this that allows this ordinance to extend within 5 miles of the city limits. Paul, would you like to speak on that?
Sure. So basically, Chapter 79 of the state statutes allows for when you pass these kind of things. It's specifically 79.380, and it's the first whereas of the proposed ordinance, allows for the ordinance to go within 5 miles outside the city limits. And so that's what was been on the table since we started discussing all this. Actually, it was on Labor Day, I got a call from Prosecutor Ben Bergstresser there in Webster County, and he was concerned. I guess he had talked to Webster County Sheriff and some other Webster County officials that they really didn't want that in the ordinance because they don't want to have any part of having to enforce it, and are fearful that if anything comes up in this 5 mile radius outside the city limits, that people are going to be looking to them to enforce. And so they would request that that part be taken out of the ordinance because they want it, if the city's going to pass this, they want it limited to the city limits of Marshfield.
Thank you. Any discussion or action on this?
I feel it should be stricken.
Okay. Agreed. Okay. Okay. Do we have consensus? Okay. Then we can strike. Well, how much of this would you strike?
All I would do is strike the statement about enforce the same within 5 miles of the city from that first whereas. So it would be strike that portion of that sentence. And
Okay.
then just to make it extra clear that it's within the city limits, I would probably put somewhere in the maybe section 3 right before the signatures, something about the ordinance shall be in full force and effect, limited to the city of Marshfield from and after its passage, or something like that. Because the statute technically allows you to go 5 miles outside the city limits, I wouldn't want anybody to read it and say, well, the statute allows it and you didn't limit it. So those would be the two places I would strike it.
Okay. So I have stricken that portion from the first whereas, and on section 1, item 3. No.
Actually, go to page 3, section 3, where it says the ordinance shall be in full force and effect.
Yes.
After the ordinance shall be in full force and effect, put a comma, limited to the city limits of Marshfield, and then another comma or something like that, just to
Okay.
make sure it's limited to the city limits of Marshfield.
Thank you. And the second item that was brought to my attention was the other two cities that passed them well before Stevenham. And so our school districts, their school districts, were able to base their their planning, their back-to-school plan on the ordinances that were already in effect. I did have our school district reach out to me while they were working on their back-to-school plan and ask for clarification within the executive order. And of course, the executive order specifically exempted our school district because they had their own board making their decisions, and they had other state institutions giving them regulations that they were having to follow. But the way this is currently written, our school district would be required to comply with this. One of the biggest differences you'll notice is in the age of the individual who has to wear a mask. So this would reduce this. Stacy, you'll have to help me here. I think it is currently 6th grade and above.
6th grade and above, and this drops it to 10, which
Would be
Drops it
4th grade.
significantly, 4th
Yeah,
grade.
my 4th grader would have to wear a mask. So it would make a major change, I feel, at least 2 grades worth of change within the school district. So I wanted to bring that to the table. I do not have anything from the school district to present on that, but I did want to bring that item to the table on whether or not we might like to exempt the school district from this, since they do have their own plan.
That's what we've done in the past, right?
It is. Okay, do we have a consensus?
yes.
Okay, Paul, can I ask you where would be a good place to stick that word in?
Okay, so I'm unmuted. What I would do, so we have the exceptions here and under B. So I don't, thinking off the cuff here, I would put it somewhere in B where it says face coverings required in places of public accommodation. Then you have section 2, which is a person may remove their face covering. Just add a letter. So just so you don't have to re-letter everything, maybe put it at after K, so it'd be L, and just make a statement that the Marshfield School District is exempt from this ordinance and may follow their internal guidelines or something like that, where they can create their own rules within the Marshfield School District as to what their students have to wear.
Thank you very much, Paul.
Yeah.
I shouldn't show my wallet. Okay, are there any other items that the alderman would like to bring up regarding bill language? Okay, and with that, we will move into the public comment portion of our meeting. Before we get started, I do want to run over what the rules are for the alderman so that you'll be aware. All people must be present to speak. The tickets were first come, first served. There were 50 tickets available. Sam, do we know how many we gave?
15 to 16, something like that so far.
Okay. Everyone must have a ticket to speak. Those wishing to speak during the public comment portion are allowed 3 minutes. Foul language or obscene language or any disrespect will automatically forfeit any time remaining. So it doesn't matter if we're 10 seconds in, that will forfeit their 3 minutes. The number on the ticket did not reflect their speaking order. The numbers are going to be drawn randomly. The speaker is asked to state their name and address and whether they are in favor or opposed before their 3 minutes will start. Only the speaker will be allowed into the chamber with the mayor and the board of aldermen. And the speaker will address the entire board and mayor, not just one particular individual. So those are the rules we're working with. There is a timer up here that I'll be controlling from my phone that gives them a 3-minute countdown. It does have a fairly loud beep the last 3 seconds, just to give them a warning. So the first time it may seem a little shrill, but I can't figure out how to train it. So with that, Sam? I plan to address each one of them as they come in. Hello.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I will be starting your timer. If you'll state your name and your address and whether you are in favor or opposed before we get started, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, my name is Ralph Noah. I live at 2759 Springtown Road, and I am opposed.
Okay. I will also let you know that during public comment, myself and the board will not address any questions. We are simply hearing what you have to say.
I understand.
Okay. And with that, you're welcome to get started.
Thank you. Mayor, Marshfield Board of Aldermen, community members, my fellow general public. As I said, I wish to state my disagreement with this ordinance. I work in Marshfield at a local office as a custodian in charge of decontaminating the lobby 8 times a day. I wear a mask while doing so, as well as gloves. I'm also a member of Osage Baptist, and I shop regularly in Marshfield. This ordinance seeks to require the use of face masks, and it lists a variety of acceptable masks. I have such a mask that was issued to me at work, came with a label that states, "This product is not a respirator. It will not provide any protection against COVID-19 or other viruses or contaminants." No doubt they did this for liability purposes to avoid a lawsuit, since a mask will not prevent someone from getting the virus. On May 21st, 2020, the New England Journal of Medicine stated regarding the universal masking in hospitals in the COVID-19 era, I quote, "We know that wearing a mask outside a healthcare facility offers little, if any, protection from infection. Public health officials define a significant exposure to COVID-19 as face-to-face contact with a patient with symptomatic COVID-19 that is sustained for at least a few minutes, some say no more than 10 minutes, or even 30 minutes. The chance of catching COVID-19 from a passing interaction in a public space is therefore minimal. In many cases, the desire for widespread masking is a reflexive reaction to anxiety over the pandemic. Is this proposed ordinance a reflexive reaction to anxiety over the pandemic? Obviously, unless full-face respirators are mandated, this ordinance is really just for show. The wording of the proposed ordinance also danced around the issue of religious liberty and worship. It utilizes weasel words such as nonprofit organizations, benevolent association, or educational entity, regardless of its legal organization, form, entity, tax treatment, or structure. I find such nuances in this proposed ordinance repugnant to my God-given rights enumerated in the Constitution of the United States. And if Congress is not allowed to establish any laws regarding the freedom of religion, I doubt if this Board of Aldermen should propose to do so. A better use of your leadership, I believe, is to prevent the spread of COVID-19 would be to encourage the public to get in shape, take vitamins, supplements known to prevent disease, such as vitamin D, zinc, and vitamin C, through boosting the immune system. Also seek to obtain hydroxychloroquine. The public could use it for a prophylactic purpose. I don't want to contract the virus. I don't want to get the flu either, or any other kind of illness. So I'll take my efforts on my own to avoid it. I encourage you to vote no on this proposed ordinance. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Just that one. Hello.
Howdy.
I'm doing all right. We ask that you start with your name and address and whether you are in favor or opposed, and then we will start the 3-minute timer.
My name is Relman Rice. I live at 883 Cross Creek Road, Marshfield, Missouri. I am opposed to the ordinance of making face masks mandatory.
Okay. I will also let you know that during your public comment, the board will not be answering questions, and they will probably also not ask you any questions. Okay? I will start your time.
I am opposed to the face mask ordinance because I don't believe that the face masks are efficient. I believe that wearing the face mask can be helpful, but in most cases it is not. We have had all kinds of official documentation that are contrary one to the other. Anything put out that is absolutely 100% proof for or proof against. I have not. I don't wear a face mask. I go to Walmart. I go Forstman's, wherever. I do not wear the face mask. I do my social distancing, and I keep away from everybody. You know, people sneeze or cough, I leave them alone. people wear face masks, they get comfortable, they get careless, and they hinder their effectiveness. Dr. Fauci, the CDC, and our Surgeon General have all said that when people wear the mask, if they don't wear them correctly, they're ineffective. If they touch something and then they touch their face and touch their mask, it doesn't do any good to wear the mask. The efficiency of the mask is cut way down because people are careless, people don't know how to use them. And then if people are wearing masks and they all get together, then it cuts down on the effectiveness of wearing the mask. I've had COVID, but I had COVID because we do Restoring Hope, and we had a client come into our home that had COVID and gave it to us. I have not got sick from being out in public without my mask, and I do not believe that wearing the mask is good. I just think that it's infringing upon our personal rights. I think it's an outreach of the government trying to control the American people. Or I believe that the government is trying to indoctrinate and train our population to say, how high do you want me to jump when they tell us to jump? I think it's wrong. We revolution from Great Britain to keep our freedoms, and I think they are infringing upon our freedoms, and they are trying to take more and more of our freedoms away from us. I just don't think it's a good or right thing to do. Now, I have also heard that, I was going to ask, but you said I can't ask, but I'm going to make the comment that I've heard rumor, don't know if it's true or not, that one of the members of the board here, that they own a face mask company. If they do, they need to recluse themselves from this, not be part of it, and anyone that has any financial interest or family or anybody else that has financial face mask company should recuse themselves and not be part of the discussion because their opinion is biased and is tainted.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello. We ask that you start by saying your name and your address and whether you are in favor or opposed, and then we will start the timer.
My name is Jed Fisher. My address is 704 East 2nd Street, Marshville, Missouri, 65706. I'm the founder of the RZ Zebra Project. I represent a group of disabled people, and that's to give them a voice. We spend most of our lives in isolation. We're used to it because we had to adapt to a changing environment. As we have had to adapt to our limitations, so do the American people. We are in the middle of a pandemic. I am retired healthcare. I was in charge of over 200 employees. And my job specifically was education and employee development. If masks were ineffective, we wouldn't be wearing them. They're a pain in the butt. All the PPE that we have to dress up, if it doesn't work. I can quote numbers, facts, figures all day long. But what I can give you is this. The virus is real. Masks work. Our president lied and misled the public, and people died. Do not be the city council that will be responsible. I took an oath to protect life. If I didn't think these masks worked and protected me from illness, I beg of you, think very carefully, because remember, this whole pandemic started with one person getting infected. Am I out of time?
You are not.
Okay. I want to thank you for your time and giving me the opportunity to speak, because our caregivers, they go to the stores for us. And if you're not masked up and you're infected, you can pass it on to them. And then they bring it home to me. And everything that I do to try to protect myself in my weakened state has been for nothing. How do you weigh the cost of human life? What's acceptable? One? Well, to me, every life matters. At what point do we say, it's only 740,000 people or 790,000 people dead? That is unacceptable. How many people in Marshall do you want to lose because you failed to act? Listen to the science. Healthcare workers have been wearing masks for years because they were. And with that, I'll end my time. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming.
And may you make a good decision.
My name is Dale Hartwell, live at 231 North Olive, Marshfield, Missouri, and I'm against the ordinance.
Okay. Before you get started, and I'll start the timer, I just wanted to let you know that during this time, the board will not answer questions or respond directly. Okay?
Okay, so I can't add say anything.
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, I had to pick up somebody. Yeah, I'm against it. The Webster County Health Unit, what they just give you, stated the reason why it's not needed. Now, Michael Taylor gave you a lot of high numbers. That does, I mean, we hear a big, long number, we get scared. I mean, that's outrageous, but the percentage is low. He said there's 1,600 deaths in the state of Missouri. There's 1,900 deaths from the flu virus. So are we putting our emphasis in the wrong spot? It was in the mail that there's 1 death from the virus in Webster County. There's 7 deaths from car accidents in Webster County. Are we putting our emphasis on the wrong thing? I think we are. There's so many different things that they say. I know my granddaughter got the virus. She works at Bass Pro. She goes to MSU. She wore a mask when she was supposed to, but she got it anyway. That's fine. These problems in life are gonna come. There's no getting away from them. My daughter took her to the urgent care, and they give her a test, and they found out, 2 days later that she had the virus. The doctor told my daughter, if you don't show any symptoms in 2 or 3 days, you're fine, no problem. My daughter works at Shook. Shook won't let her go back to work for 14 days or 10 days after my daughter gets out of quarantine, which is 14 days. My granddaughters get to go to school, and it's all in the same house. My son-in-law gets to go to work. I think there's too many stipulations required on something that's not that serious. I'm not saying that COVID is not happening. The flu virus is happening, but we're not posing anything, restrictions on the flu virus, and it is worse than COVID virus. So I'm against the regulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess this is where I get to stay.
Okay, sir, we'd ask you to start with your name and your address and whether
Mike
you are,
Sackett,
I'm sorry,
Mike Sackett, 199 Pleasant Prairie Road, Marshfield.
okay? And are you in favor or opposed?
I'm opposed.
Okay, I'm going to start your 3-minute timer. During that time, the board will not address you.
Okay. Biggest thing, I think all your statistics are skewed a little bit. because I know of at least 3 cases, 2 in Webster County and 1 in Ohio. My mother-in-law passed away and they put COVID-19 down for the cause of death, but they'd been treating her for water on the lungs for the last 5 years. And this is just recently. But she passed away, so there's nothing to that for as far as the COVID goes. My wife works for a hospice company. 2 of her clients passed, both with lung problems, but they had been treated for several years also. So it's not anything that is, shall we say, strictly COVID. And only for my primary physician told me just the other day that only 4% of the 190,000 that have died has been strictly COVID. All the rest had underlying problems like lung cancer, water on the lungs, bad hearts, diabetes, just lack of exercise and so forth. So that's, and basically that's the biggest reason that I'm against it. And besides, I don't like being blackmailed like they did with the seatbelt laws years ago. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Well, thank you for coming today. We'd like you to start with your name and your address and whether you're in favor or opposed, and then we'll start your 3 minutes.
Luke Anderson, 584 Lone Pine Road, Marshfield. I'm against.
Okay. During the 3-minute time, you are welcome to address the board, but the board will not answer questions or comments. Okay?
I'm not going to give a whole lot of data. I think I'm going to talk to most of you guys, and I think it's debatable at best which way it can go. The main thing I'm here for is just hopefully that you guys are seeing that the local does have a voice. And I know you guys have been disappointed that we don't speak up as much as we should, but that hopefully this will start the community speaking up so you guys can hear what we have to say. And hopefully we have been loud. From what I've heard, we've been fairly loud, either for or against, doesn't matter. Couple things I did want to address, just that Alderman Rob brought up, that I had a couple police officers bring up to me that they feel like they work in Springfield and they feel like it would be more dangerous having to encounter disgruntled people if they have to go tell them to wear a mask. He said, just the situation and the division that's caused right now. He said the interactions he's been having in Springfield, and another one we're talking to, that when they have to go approach those people, the tension is already at a level 10, and they've got to try and, so you know, the tensions are high. And then we're saying we need a mask mandate, or we're going to enforce it, or we're going to kick you out of business, or whatnot. Which brings me to my second point. We already have a mask mandate in Marshfield with this executive order that says you have to wear, or you're strongly recommended a mask. I didn't have it in my notes, but it says you are required if you cannot social distance. So not even strongly encouraged, it says that, but it also says you are required if you cannot social distance. So I'm not sure why the ordinance even got brought up, being we have that on the books. So it's just a concern of mine. I don't know if it's the aldermen are out of touch with the community's out of touch with the aldermen. Nobody reads any of the stuff you guys post. I've been talking with several people and administrators, and some of it's hard to find, but it just takes a little bit of research, and you can find almost all of it on Facebook, the city website page. It's all there. I think legally you guys have to post it, so it can be found. The other thing, the reason I'm against it is, just the enforcement, talking with local police officers, not only Springfield, is, is the business, I'm a business owner, am I going to be in charge of having to be judged whether I enforce it or don't enforce it? Or when somebody walks in with a mask, do I have to tell them you have to put a mask on? And then the community looks at me at either a mask person in favor or against, and I've got to deal with all of that on top of everything else we're having to deal with and just keeping the doors open. And now we're trying to enforce it even before the cops get called. Like, should we call the police? It's nonsense. So thank you guys. No vote.
Thank you.
Hello, Mayor.
We ask that you please state your name and your address, whether you are in favor or opposed, before your 3 minutes wait.
My name is Representative Hannah Kelly. I live at 7015 Cherokee Road, Norwood, Missouri, 65717, and I am opposed to the ordinance.
Okay, we will begin your time. During that time, the board will not answer questions and they will not address you.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, first of all, for your service. As a fellow public servant, I know that the job that you have in front of you is no small task. And thank you for allowing me to be here tonight. I am here on behalf of the people that I serve in Webster County. And I am very well acquainted with folks who are inside the city limits, who happen to be business owners, who happen to be moms and dads, grandmas, grandpas, and lay people in the community that work in various roles, who have reached out to me privately and said, Hannah, I do not want this ordinance to pass. And for various reasons, because we know that we live in what I like to call the heartland. Many folks are busy tonight as I pulled into town. I'm so happy to see cool school kids out playing on the soccer field and see life happen and see the town thriving and flourishing and coming through what has been a difficult time for everyone across the state of Missouri. As a fellow elected official, I understand that we have many tasks in front of us in regards to COVID-19. I spend many hours on the phone in regards to serious deep issues that we have in regards to our elderly in our nursing homes being just one issue that we deal with, as we know that they're secluded and can't directly contact their loved ones on a daily basis, amongst many other things. And since I see the clock ticking, I just would humbly ask you, on behalf of the people that I promised to be a voice for, on behalf of the people that I have promised to give voice while they continue to build and grow economies and grow their families and protect and build this place that we call home, that you please remember that the Constitution is precious and the Constitution affords freedoms that it is our charge to protect. I told someone the other night that it is the biggest responsibility as a public servant to remember that no one else writes the 5 o'clock news anymore, it's us. We're the ones that set the headlines, and I ask you to set the headlines that here in Marshville, that we choose to be a welcoming place to those outside of our city limits to come and do business. And for the business owners, that we choose to allow the business owners to make the decision that they feel is right for their business. And that we choose to allow families to freely make the decision that they feel is best for their families. Government is best when government is small. And I view the passing of this ordinance as an expansion of government. And that is why I humbly ask you to turn down this ordinance tonight and not pass it. In my home, I have a stack of face masks that I use when the situation is appropriate, when it's a situation that I can easily socially distance, when I need to be accommodating to individuals that I live with. That is an independent choice that I make, and that is something that I believe that the government should not have a dictation in. And so thank you for your time, and I hope that you all have a wonderful night.
Thank you. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Oh, you have some handouts?
I did.
Sam, would you distribute those to the owner? While he is doing that, would you please state your name and address and whether you are in favor or opposed?
My name is David Hollingsworth. I'm at 730 East McVeigh, and I am opposed.
Okay. After everybody receives a copy, you'll start your 3 minutes. During that time, the board will not answer any questions, nor will they address you.
To begin, I'd like to say from a personal career in emergency management that it goes against the basic principles of public safety to develop or discuss new methods of intervention during a crisis. This crisis is no different. Mask mandates were not part of Marshfield's emergency management plan prior to this crisis, and for the safety of our community, should not be considered as an option for our plan until after this crisis is over. This political push from our federal government for mask mandates is simply irresponsible. More to the point, I would like to address two statements that were made at the preliminary meeting last week. First, one alderman said that it was our responsibility as a city to protect our citizens, and a mask mandate would help us meet that goal. As we are well into this pandemic, it is fairly simple to look at the raw data and establish real conclusions. I've collected data on the infection rates in US states and the cities in Missouri who have issued mask mandates. As you can see from the visuals I have provided, only 3 out of the 43 examples show a possible decline in infection rates after issuing a mask mandate, and approximately a third of the 43 examples became worse. There's no reason to assume Marshfield's results would be better than 93% of the United States. We also have the example of the 1919 influenza pandemic in which masks were mandated. In that pandemic, mask use had no impact on the epidemic curve. Logic dictates that they will have no impact today. Furthermore, prior to political interference, the CDC conducted a study in 2008 where they tested mask use in the spread of a virus. The study concluded that mask use made no appreciable difference on infection rates. Subsequently, they did not recommend mask use until politics began to dictate our crisis response. The second statement I'd like to address is from another alderman who said that he did not see why a mask would be a problem because it's just a piece of cloth and can't hurt anybody. A 2008 study on the effect of surgical masks in lengthy surgeries concluded that blood oxygen levels of a mask wearer consistently declined, and the decline became increasingly drastic the longer the mask was worn. A 2014 study on the impact of face mask use on nasal resistance concluded that mean nasal resistance was altered after wearing a mask and does not return to normal even an hour and a half after removing the mask, indicating a potential physiological change to the wearer's upper airways. A more recent study concluding early this year found that 81% of people who wore face masks for more than 4 hours per day had headaches that were either caused or worsened by wearing a mask. In conclusion, I hope I've been able to show you two things. First, that masks and mask mandates are not an effective means of controlling an epidemic. And second, that there is a potential for masks to do harm. As a medical measure, it has long been the ethical standard to do no harm. This mandate would break that standard of ethics and has an extremely low and possibly non-existent hope of doing any good. A mask mandate is not the right choice for Marshfield. Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Black.
Mayor.
I do very well. I ask that you please state your name and your address, and then whether you are in favor or opposed before your opinion.
Thank you. My name is John Black. I live at 1420 Broadway here in Marshfield. I'm opposed to the proposal. I want to thank you all for your service. You're volunteering to try to determine what is best for our community. It's a heavy responsibility. I appreciate this forum. As we know what our country's about. There are people for an issue and opposed to an issue. You're doing it the right way. I thank you for what you're doing. I'm opposed to the ordinance for several reasons. Of course, first, the opinion of the local health department is very significant in this issue. They are local experts. They know our area. They understand what's going on in Marshfield and Webster County. Their opinions matter. To me, the issue comes down to, when you weigh all the evidence, is this a matter of personal responsibility, or is this a matter that requires a government mandate? The opinion of our health department and the experience that we've all seen indicates that the people of Marshfield and Webster County have exercised personal responsibility to keep this disease in a contained manner. I have a personal friend, a longtime friend, went to high school with this person who has a serious health condition. That person is concerned to leave their home they have an underlying health condition where this condition, or the disease could be problematic for them. We need to respect those people as we exercise our personal responsibility. When we see folks with a mask, we need to understand that they might have a condition, that they're concerned, and we need to respect those views. So I'm sympathetic to my friend's circumstances, and I consider it my obligation, my responsibility to be responsible personally so the government mandate's not necessary in this circumstance. And I think we all should consider that as we go forward. I oppose it. I don't think it's necessary for Marshfield. Thank you for your time, Marshfield.
Thank you. Good evening. We ask that you please start with your name and your address and whether you are in favor or opposed, and then we will start with your name.
My name is Robert Boggs, and my address is 454 West Marshall.
Okay. And are you in favor or opposed?
I'm against it.
Okay. One more note, when I start the 3-minute timer, during that time, the board will not address you and they won't answer any questions. Okay? Anything?
Well, mine's short and sweet, just because I know everybody, you guys have heard a lot of the same stuff probably. And some of you already know where I stand on the issue. I just want to come in just to show the additional support that I'm opposed to, would be opposed to ever. Just the way I feel like we're adults and we know we can get stuff so fast from the media, the social network that we have these days. And we can make those decisions rather quickly of what we need or don't need to do for our families and to support us for our businesses and different things like that. That's really all I had to say.
All right. We appreciate that.
Thank you guys for your patience. All the work you got.
Thank you. Hello, sir.
Hi there.
We ask that you please start with your name, address, and whether you are in favor or opposed.
My name is Robert Williams. I live at 1415 Glenwood Road, and I am for amendment.
Okay. During this 3-minute period, we will not address you, nor will we answer any questions. Okay?
Sure.
All right. You can begin.
All right. I am not a legal, medical, or disease expert. Will not pretend to be otherwise. I simply believe that face masks do slow the spread of COVID-19, a real threat to our community based on all of the expert reports presented to this board in every meeting prior to today. Executive Order 2020-5, EO5, reveals that this board believes likewise, including the need for a face mask mandate. Since our mayor, after conferring with the Board of Aldermen, strongly encourages all Marshfield businesses, public operations, and gatherings to require face masks. EO5 makes it crystal clear that as a board, you want our community to self-impose a face mask mandate. The unanswered question is, will you as our elected leaders now do your part, respond to your own encouragement, and lighten the burden that has been levied on our community? It does not matter what other communities do, or if citizens want to wear face masks. They don't, not even the many who support a mandate. However, EO5 is a statement made by this board that you see a need for mandating face masks to protect our community. Your strong request in EO5 brings conflict to those who will lose patronage if they individually comply. In short, they cannot individually mandate face masks. I submit that it is the current lack of a community-wide mandate by this board that is most damaging to our businesses and citizens. This is not an enforcement issue. It's about increasing the overall number of people that wear masks, thereby slowing the spread of the virus. I've been to several communities that impose face mask mandates. I can tell you that business goes on, life goes on, people do wear face masks, and it's no big deal. And undoubtedly, history will show that lives are saved. The health unit recently voted to encourage rather than mandate wearing face masks. I can't think of a better way to respond to their encouragement than to approve a face mask mandate at the city level, since that is precisely what our city is asking our citizens to self-impose. Now, I am for mandate. My preference is that one is approved. However, in the case that it isn't approved, I offer the same observation. But instead, I ask you to remove any language in E05 that pertains to requiring face masks, encouraged or otherwise, because no level of government should ever ask their citizens to shoulder a burden that they are not willing to follow through and shoulder themselves. Thank you for allowing me this time.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
We ask that you start with your name and your address and whether you are in favor or opposed.
My name is Ben Stewart. I domicile at 795 Tower Road. And it doesn't matter what whether I oppose or not. This is the issue.
We'll go ahead and start your agenda.
Hello, my name is Ben Stewart. I'm a former veteran. I swore an oath, just like all of you have, to protect the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And I stand here tonight to serve all of you public servants, mine, a notice of default, a verbal notice of default and liability if you continue this pursuit of voting on it in the first place. The mere fact that this issue has been publicly presented is a violation of the emoluments of your office. How much worse that you would decide to vote on such repugnance without correcting one another on this serious discrepancy. I understand the school systems have been skewed. I'm not blaming you entirely. I'll be more than happy to explain this stuff to you or show you where it's at. Okay? This matter we all come here to discuss tonight is not a matter of the democratic process, but a matter of law. For it is truly unlawful to allow the majority to vote away the fundamental rights of his brother. How sad it is to even consider to allow the majority, how sad it is to even consider to unlawfully force your brother to choose between the fundamental right of breathing or buying food. The origin of all public law is for the defense of individuals' inherent rights, never to restrict those fundamental rights without due process of law. This is not due process of law. I can show you how. I mean, seriously, this is a constitution that puts you in positions that you're seated in. The Constitution is a social contract. Okay? That means it has to follow the law of contracts. What moron would consent to such a fraternity of such crazy laws? I'll have a good day. I'll have my name and address. I hope to hear from it.
Good evening. We ask that you start with your name and address and whether you are in favor or opposed.
My name is Zach Summers, 498 George Street. I'm opposed to this. First of all, I would like to thank you all for letting us speak. And for those of you aldermen who are so strongly for the mask mandate, thank you for showing your commitment to wearing masks this evening. That's a wonderful statement. I'm obviously opposed to this. I feel like anybody who would like to wear a mask, that is wonderful. If that makes them feel better and safer, that is terrific. With that being said, I think that there are some strong points that are being missed to the mask
being worn in the first place, such as I love the fact of all the homemade masks that we see that I'm positive are N95 approved. That is wonderful, being as this is a airborne virus, as we are told. If anybody has concerns about that, wear your mask and go hang drywall or do something along those lines, and let's see how your face will when you take the mask off. I'm sure that drywall dust can get under your mask. You know, Corona's not going to. I'm sure. With that being said, the other aspect of this is our law enforcement, because I'm terribly certain they have nothing better to do than enforce this law. Now, if you want to give the option to wear the mask, which we obviously have because we have that ordinance now, that's wonderful. However, I do not feel that it is in any way, shape, or form the right decision to make any form of law enforcement responsible for enforcing this issue. I'm positive they have better things to do, such as protecting my home and business as well as all of yours. Short and sweet, that's about all I got to say. You'll have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Hello.
After you start tonight with your name and address and whether you're in favor or opposed.
My name is Angel Niskanen. I'm at 252 Elizabeth Street, Marshfield, Missouri, 65706. And I am opposed. Great.
Okay. Before I start the timer, I'll let you know that during your 3-minute time, the board will not answer any questions, nor will they address.
Oh, thank you. All right, I would like to say good evening and thank you all for allowing me the time to speak in regards of the proposed mask ordinance. I mean everything I say with the utmost respect to all of you. My heart and prayers do go out to those who have been affected by COVID. I am not a heartless person. There are multiple reasons on why I'm against this ordinance, some of which you guys did read about in my email. Now, I don't want to waste your time reiterating everything everyone else has already said or will say, so I will strictly stick with what will affect my family. I work at the bank, and if this does pass, it will cause a little bit of hardship within our community. How many times do you go to the bank and they tell you no, put your mask on? It does seem crazy. Now, you can't promise me that people aren't going to get mad when you tell them, you know, you can't have your cash because you don't have a mask on. It will cause some issues, and it's not just the bank, the community, really. We do not have coupons or gift certificates to hand out if someone does get mad for the inconvenience. We will take the brunt of the anger and we will have to take it full on. Now, my husband has decided he will not wear a mask, even if it is passed. And why should he when he is around maybe 10 people a day, most of which are family? He does work in close quarters with his best friend, and so he would be required to wear it, but he works outside and he will choose not to. And if there is no penalty, why should he? Is his opinion. Now, my church attendance is already on the decline due to COVID. Now, adding in extra measures like everyone has to wear a mask in church would cause significant change in attendance as well. And so I am strongly against that. The people do not want masks at all. And there was a comment made last week that doctors wear masks all day and they're fine with it. Yes, they do, but that is also their job to do it. They get paid to do it. This is our freedom. This is outside, even outside of work. It should be our choice. Now, before everyone starts to think that I am heartless, careless, and I don't care about getting people sick, that's not the case. You are wrong. If I were going somewhere and I felt like I was not well, I wouldn't go, or I would wear a mask. If I were going somewhere where someone was with an immune disorder, I would not go, or I would wear a mask. I would use my thoughts and how I feel to base my decisions from there. And I think a lot of Marshfield are like-minded in that aspect. Now, if you could guarantee me that everyone that got COVID would die from COVID, yes, I would gladly put on a mask, but you cannot guarantee that.
Your time's up. Thank you very much.
I'll check if it's right.
Okay. That is all the public comment for this evening. I will also add that in the last meeting, I offered my email address as a method for individuals to contact us. Through today, before the meeting, I had received 175 emails, including 2 letters and 2 Facebook posts that I copied in the email and sent on to you. There are 16 that have not yet been forwarded to you because I received them at the work today, but I did include them in this. Of those, we had 87% opposed and 13% in favor. So that will conclude public comment. I would now like to open this up for the Board of Aldermen to make any comments they would like.
I had stated at the last meeting that I would base my vote on what the public had asked. And in the private messages that I received, and I also took down all the emails that came from the mayor. My numbers were 34 a mandate, 174 against, and that does include the speakers. I do also want to say that I did prepare it so I wouldn't forget. I am in favor of masking. I know that it works when it's done properly, but I struggle when it comes to forcing others to do so. We should want to wear a mask. We should want to protect each other. We should want to put others first. I received some comments through some Facebook pages that I felt were a little childish, like I don't want to and you can't make me. Like when we were little kids, you're not going to make me do it. I was very saddened by those. But I was encouraged by others that were opposed to masking that said, I will wear one, just don't want to be forced to do it. I'll stop here.
Okay. Anyone else want to make any comments before we read the bill?
I wrote the statement. In order to be a safe and effective healthcare practitioner, one must be acutely aware of the potential for human error, as well as recognize that an error on the side of caution is almost always preferable to one that is the result of recklessness. One must also remain willing to not only take the advice of others who are more learned when it is offered, but to actively seek that advice and knowledge in a practical manner. These observations were preached to me in school and have since been ingrained in my practice. It is this perspective that informs my support for a masking ordinance in Marshfield as the safest and most responsible approach. There are many questions about the timing of why this is coming up now. As far as the timing of this request is concerned, it was very much related to recent increases in transmission rates in the general area, as well as the recommendations of the White House COVID-19 Task Force recommending a statewide masking mandate in Missouri. To not have publicly wrestled with this question would have been an absolute neglect of citizens. And many are like visibly angry that we're even considering this. I don't see how anyone could have not. However, despite the recommendation of the White House Task Force and my own opinion on the matter, the majority of public support appears to strongly oppose this action at this time. After reading the many emails opposing the suggestion and listening to the comments made tonight, I believe there may be credence to what was suggested by Alderman Lee at the last meeting, that a mandate could be counterproductive and resulting in less compliance with the masking recommendations that already exist. This is unfortunate. Although a mandate may not pass tonight, I believe it would be good for the public to carefully and thoughtfully consider the nature and rationale behind such an ordinance in the days to come. Or if the present situation should worsen, or if, God forbid, we find ourselves confronted with another pandemic down the road, we will likely face the same question again. Ordinances and laws are frequently passed to prevent the actions of one party from infringing on rights, safety, and/or welfare of another. This could include anything from acts of violence, traffic violations, to noise pollution. When dealing with a virus that is particularly deadly to a certain demographic within a community, an ordinance to limit its spread by requiring the use of a mask seems no more a violation of rights than the speed limit sign or the police showing up on the doorstep at midnight on Monday to tell me to turn the stairs down. That, of course, is my opinion, and I do not expect everyone to agree with it. By the way, that was just an example. Regardless of what happens here tonight, my hope and prayer is that more people will be willing to consider the welfare of their neighbor by wearing a mask when social distancing is not possible, and when their health and mental health permits. This is not only for the safety of the one wearing the mask, but for the safety of their neighbor who is in close proximity. It is a well-known and established fact that a person can be contagious for several days before becoming symptomatic. In light of this fact, the wearing of a mask seems a common courtesy in an attempt to protect the health of those around us. It is also a well-known and established fact that masks limit the spread of germs. I am not aware at this time of any surgeons lobbying for their rights pertaining to their century-old obligation to mask up during surgery. This is because if they did not wear masks, they would be placing themselves and their patients in harm's way. Also, please note that I said masks limit the spread of germs and not eliminate, as there seems a point of confusion for some who theorize that the passing of a mask mandate in Springfield should have stopped the virus dead in its tracks. There is no telling what Springfield's numbers would be if this measure had not been taken. If loving your neighbor came naturally to ease, then there would be little need for most laws. This, as we all know, is sadly not the case. Fortunately, I believe there is much love among the neighbors of this community, and it is my hope that we permit this truth to guide our personal response to the masking recommendation that already exists, rather than political affiliation, ignorance, or indifference. Honestly, I would love nothing more than to see a mere masking recommendation in Marshfield result in a far greater participation than a mandate has in Springfield. But from what I have observed thus far, with the exception of some businesses who've been right on this, but from what I have observed thus far, we still have a way to go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'd like to make a couple comments. The first one is to state that the paper seemed to represent today in this last issue that I had a change of heart. I'm sure it was a simple turn of phrase, but it doesn't accurately represent what's happened to me. My heart has not changed. I still strongly support masking. And if we had support from other entities in my community, I would support a mandate for sure. Having said that, I do have a prepared statement that I want to read. But I first want to say that this feedback that we asked for, there were, beside the comments that were in some cases completely inappropriate, there was the other side of the spectrum, which there were very passionate pleas on both sides of this issue. Very well reasoned and well thought out on both sides. in some cases. But I want to just point to tonight's comments. If I could pick one person to, or at least their comments, to bottle up, that they would come true, it would actually be somebody who was opposed to that. That was John Black. John Black, if we could bottle your words and the way you're thinking about this, and I wish it would be published, right? We'd all be in great shape with or without a mandate. In fact, we wouldn't need a mandate. I think that's definitely worth noting. So with that, we're all coping with extraordinary challenges in these times. We're faced with a pandemic that is threatening to our health and to the health of our loved ones and neighbors. Ripple effects are far-reaching, including significant impacts on the economy, mental health, and isolation. To make matters worse, this virus is not yet well understood. It is unpredictable in its path, its symptoms, and its outcome. And so far, it seems to have invaded at least 216 countries across the globe without a vaccine or approved treatment to combat it. To be sure, unfortunate side effects are the confusion, the division, and the weariness it is leaving in its wake. I'll first want to thank my board colleagues for their willingness to take up this issue of masking and to discuss it openly. I still believe that it is in the community's best interest that we are, as aldermen, transparent, as informed as possible, and responsive to the community we serve. Thanks also to the citizens who answered our request for feedback over both online and tonight. Overwhelmingly, there is a clear community resistance to a mask order. I am also grateful to the Webster County Health Board of Trustees for meeting this past weekend to consider and offer their position on the issue of a masking mandate. That is the direction the Board of Aldermen did desire to inform our action. They are the recognized authority in our community on health matters, and their answer was that at this time, based on current data and community input, rather than mandate mask wearing, they will continue to encourage the wearing of masks. Therefore, all things considered, I recognize that to enact a mandate would be counterproductive. It is also clear that on both sides of the mandate issue, there is support for voluntary masking. Like the Webster County Health Unit, the City of Marshfield does continue to encourage and promote the wearing of face masks. A post on the Webster County Health Unit's Facebook page quotes CDC Director Dr. Robert R. Redfield. Cloth face coverings are one of the most powerful weapons we have to slow and stop the spread of this virus, particularly when used universally within a community setting. All Americans have the responsibility to protect themselves, their families, and their communities. End quote. So, even without a mandate, let us continue to look after ourselves and one another by masking where and when appropriate. The above quote posted to the Health Unit Facebook page seems to dovetail very well with the City of Marshfield's new logo and multiple associated taglines, which all include the anchor word together. Perhaps an additional and hopefully very temporary tagline could be stopping a pandemic together.
Thank you. Any additional comments?
I do not have a prepared statement. That is not my style. I appreciate you have a little more. What more is there to be said? I think our community has spoken clearly from both directions. I think Representative Kelly said it best tonight. Life needs to go on in Marshfield, one way or the other. I think it's time to read our ordinance, and make a stand, whatever that might be, and get on with things.
Okay. And with that, I'll read the bill by title. Please note that we did make 2 changes to that ordinance tonight, so those will be included in this package. Bill number 2020-59, an ordinance of the City of Marshfield, Missouri, establishing a requirement for the use of face coverings to prevent or limit the spread of COVID-19. And the bill dies with no motion. Next item on the agenda is downtown square project bid results.
Mayor and Board, Mel Akins with Great River is here with us tonight. As he kind of makes his way this way, we just a reminder, we did have a pre-bid meeting, had a really good turnout for the pre-bid meeting. Bids were due a couple days later. When it came to the bid opening, we only received one bid. And so Mel is here to present a summary of that bid.
You guys have this amount, right?
They have the summary.
You have this summary here? Okay.
All right, like Sam said, we just had one estimate, and so I placed that in our budget to kind of see how it falls within our budget, and I'll go over that with you and answer any questions that you have. We bid it in 2 different bids and with some alternates, and so the base bid A, which was to mill and overlay the square with asphalt, was $170,779. And then to stripe that same area was $28,100.84. And then we had an alternate to seal the cracks before we overlay it. And the reason we made that as an alternate is we wanted to see if that's maybe something that we could pull out and have staff do. If we could save money doing that, that was $5,300. And I don't think you'd save much, if any, money to have the staff do that, but now we know that. And then we added an alternate to seal and strike the outside parking areas, because the original project was just the main lanes, the intersections, and then we added the inner parking spots at the county's request. But we had nothing in our scope of services for the outer parking spots. So we added an option in there for you guys to consider to seal and strike that so that it all is black with the stripes, and it looked better that way. And so that alternate for sealing and striping those outer parking spots is $3,415.65. If you chose to do all of those things, it would make the total contract with Blevins to be $207,595.49. And then if you look at the rest of the, I can go into as much detail as you want on this, but some of the work is being done by city and county forces. And so they've been helping patch and repair subgrade and that type of thing. And so that those dollars are in there, as well as our engineering contract that's in there. So the total project cost if we move forward with everything on the bid, would be $352,890.78. And you guys have an agreement with the county to 50-50 cost share on this. And so therefore, the city share would be half of that, $176,445.39. The budget you guys have set aside for this project is $210,000, so we're within the budget that you have set aside. Now, something to know is that there's still some unknowns about this project. When we mill it, we've discussed this before, but we don't know exactly how thick the pavement is. And so there may be some areas that when we mill it, we break through and we have to go through there and in those areas and separate, stabilize, and patch those. So for purposes of this updated budget, we're assuming that half of what we mill, we break through and still have to repair.
Built into
this budget. Okay. And so if we
the budget or the estimate?
This estimate. Okay. And so if we don't break through it all, it would reduce the cost of this by about 60 grand or 30,000 for you guys. It could be more than 50%, but we don't think so. Based on what we've seen, a lot of the worst areas we've already went and fixed with our patching that we've done to date. And so there's a possibility we won't break through it all. I don't know, but I don't think we'll be above 50% based on what I've seen. So, anyway, so we only have one bid. I wish we had more bids to compare it to. Like Sam said, we had good attendance at the pre-bid, so we thought we'd have at least 2 or 3 bids, but when it came down to it, we only had one. what we're seeing right now is the paving contractors are very busy because people are trying to beat the paving season because when it gets cold enough, they can't pave anymore and everybody's busy. And we have a tight schedule, and we also force them, due to all the traffic on the square, to only work on nights or weekends. So that affects, the prices we get, and that affects people's ability to come in here and do this work. So if we want to get it in this paving season, I think you would have to accept this bid. Now, you may not have to accept all the options. We can discuss that, but otherwise, if you don't, then it'll push us to a spring project.
Like Mel said, there are still some unknowns in there, but I think our findings so far on the repairs have been very favorable, better condition than what we were kind of hoping for, or what we were anticipating anyway. It's kind of what we were hoping for. But there are still a few areas that could reduce the cost. In this bid, it's figured in there for up to 4 mobilizations. That's 4 mobilizations for the milling, and then 4 mobilizations for the paving equipment as well. And so the hope and from our contractors, right, the hope would be that they would pull in on a Friday and basically leave on a Sunday with a finished product. If we don't break through, or if we can mitigate that prior to them getting here, then there'll be 1 mobilization, right? And so there are some opportunities in there. If everything is favorable moving forward, there'll be an even further cost reduction. The flip side of that is that, obviously we could break through more than what we're anticipating as well.
I did a quick calculation of the city's budget for this project compared to our share of this project, and it looks like budgeted dollars, we would still have a 19% project contingency that's budgeted, which is well above most other projects that we've done. And I think that's because of the risks involved in this particular project with that milling and the stabilization issues. But it is nice to know that we do still have a fair cushion. Granted, it sounds like some cushion has been built into this bid with the 4 mobilizations, and some degree of risk, I imagine, is also factored into this.
Correct.
But even outside of that, our budget allows us an additional contingency that's still fairly strong.
And so with it being a 50-50 partnership between the city and the county, with this bid just taking place last week with the bid opening, we went up and we visited with the county commission this week, and we ran them through this very scenario, right, and ran them through where we were at, and talked to them about the bid that we have, and where the same exact estimate of where we think that everything will fall, and the same amount of risk. And they fully supported moving forward if the board wishes to do so.
Sam, I've got a question.
Mm-hmm.
What company did the paving on Golf Course Road?
Blevins.
Okay. We had issues there. Did they resolve those issues?
They did.
Completely?
They did.
Okay. That was my only concern.
Yep, they did.
There might be some leverage, or let's just make sure we
Sure.
don't.
Sure.
Thanks.
Any questions for Mel or Sam?
I will offer, if you guys decide to move forward, right, there are a few different line items on here on your budget. There's obviously the ordinance that authorizes the mayor to sign the contract with Blevins Asphalt. There's that first, I guess there's the notice of award, where you guys would award the contract to Blevins. Then there's the ordinance. Then number 10 is the notice to proceed, right? And that's going to be their ticket telling them to go. The problem is that the notice to proceed is not ready for tonight, because they won't be able to give that until they have the award. That way they get all their bonds, and they get all their paperwork lined up. And so what we're asking for, so that we can speed this up and we can get this in the process quicker, rather than wait 2 weeks and bring that notice to proceed back to you, what we're asking for is for you guys to authorize the mayor to sign the notice to proceed once all the proper paperwork has been in place.
Okay. So first we will proceed with the notice of award. First and second, all in favor? Aye. And with that, we'll move to Bill 2020-60. Bill number 2020-60, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to sign a contract between the Blevins Asphalt Construction Company Incorporated and the city of Marshfield, Missouri for Marshfield Square overlay.
Move to approve. Second.
Roll call. Oscar?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Henry?
Yes.
Yes.
Second reading. Bill number 2020-60, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to sign a contract between the Blevins Asphalt Construction Company Incorporated and the city of Marshfield, Missouri for Marshfield Square overlay.
Move to approve. Second.
Roll call.
Oscar?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Henry?
Yes.
Yes.
And then authorize mayor to sign notice to proceed contingent upon proper paperwork submitted by contractor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. And with that, we enter future agenda items. Next meeting, we will be bringing back those items that were suspended from this agenda because of public comment. Are there any extra agenda items we would like to add?
Can I comment on, if it's appropriate? I just want to brag about your staff and the county, all the work they've been doing on the patching and that type of thing. They've been doing a killer job, and they're really good, they're really organized, they're really thoughtful. And that relationship between the city staff and the county staff, they work together like they're one team. And so they did a good job.
You couldn't say that when we had cameras here?
Just kidding. All right. If there are no future agenda items, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.